Do you ever wish your students were more motivated and engaged and took ownership in their own learning? Well, you might just want to try a classroom economy. Welcome back to the Teach for the Heart podcast, where we tackle teaching challenges from a biblical perspective. Why are we here? Because we don't believe our spiritual walk and teaching profession should exist in two separate domains. Rather, the hope we have in Christ should change how we approach everything, not just at home, but at school as well. So join us as we explore both the spiritual and practical sides of key teaching challenges, integrating them together so we can succeed at teaching, glorify God, and make a lasting difference in our students' hearts and lives. This episode is brought to you in partnership with the Herzog Foundation. We also want to thank our sponsor, Dordt University. Get your Master of Education from Dordt University and learn alongside fellow Christian educators in Dordt's 100% online program. Choose from 7 specializations and complete coursework that is immediately applicable to your school setting. Dordt's program is known for its practicality, affordability, and faith integration. Lock in 50% off your first course when you visit teachfortheheart.com/Dordt. That's teachfortheheart.com/DORDT. Well, today we are going to talk about classroom economy, and we have one of our Teach for the Heart Plus mentors, Jonathan Jones, here to tell us all about the experience that he and Becky, Becky Jones is his wife that has been on the podcast before, that they have created and implemented in the classroom. Jonathan, thank you so much for being here with us today.
So happy to be here. And before we go any further, yes, Becky is definitely the better half. So I'm sorry you're getting a second fiddle, but we'll have fun together.
Absolutely. And we were talking on one of our Teach for the Heart Plus coaching calls a little bit, and the classroom economy has come up a few times between you and Becky. And so we really wanted to have you guys on the podcast to talk more about that. Before we dive in, can you share just a little bit about your teaching experience and background?
I was thinking about this, and I know a lot of people, they throw up their credentials, their certificates, their this, that. And I thought, yeah, that's nice. But what's the real street cred for why you might be interested in what I have to say? Well, I teach in low SES schools, so lots of challenges there. In fact, without going too far, I just had a student try and choke one of our staff members recently. So it's not always the easiest setting, but these economies can work in all settings. Doesn't make everything rosy, as I just mentioned, but it does make it better. I've been teaching for almost 10 years and I still love what I do. So there's something good in there, I hope.
Absolutely. So let's start with that. Why should teachers maybe consider implementing a classroom economy? Or in other words, what are some of the things, the areas where you've seen this help in your classroom?
Let me answer that in 2 parts. First, there's the student perspective. Students need to have opportunities to build responsibility. I fully believe that we need to give them that chance to step up, and the economy provides an opportunity for that. I was just recently talking with my students. I teach 4th grade right now. And I said, I love the world that you happen to live in. It's pretty amazing. But I also feel a little bit bad for you because if we could rewind the clock 100 years, you would have so many more responsibilities and you would be so much more self-sufficient. In the day and age we live in, there's so much learned dependency. And so how do we help break that? We know 9 and 10-year-olds in my case, but whatever grade you happen to teach, they are capable of so much more personal responsibility. How do we give them opportunities for that? A classroom economy is a great way to bring that in. So that's kind of on the student side. Why do I think this is powerful? On the teacher side, you're overworked. Let's just say it. You are. So how do we take a little bit off of your shoulders, share that responsibility with your classroom environment, empower them, and make your life a little bit easier in the process? That's what the power I've seen this bring to the classroom for many years now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you have tie-ins too. It can help with classroom management. You can use it in a whole bunch of different areas, and it's kind of seamlessly integrates a lot of things, right?
For sure. And we could go deeper into the student side or the teacher side. So students, I gave you kind of a big picture. It does build student responsibility, but it also prepares them for the real world. I saw a bumper sticker 5 years ago and it was super simple. All it said was work for it. It didn't have any other message along with it. It just said work for it. And it grabbed my imagination. I had my niece, who's an artist, paint those words on something. And now it's one of our classroom mottos: work for it. If you want something in life, you're going to need to work for it. Now, people can help you and support you and help you reach for your goals, but you got to put in the work. And this is one opportunity for students to build that work ethic, that work responsibility. So it's a real world preparation. And why do kids play house at home? Why do they play school at home? Because for them, practicing real world skills is still fun for them. And this brings it in a new and exciting way. So it brings a sense of fun into the classroom.
All right. So I know classroom economies, there's so many different ways to do this, and there's no way to explore all of that. But we want to
Mhm.
hear about your system and what you use. And teachers might take the whole system, they might take pieces of it. So let's start first of all with the ticket economy. Can you explain how the tickets work?
Yes. So I don't know what your cartoon that you grew up with was, but for whatever reason, I was enjoying Phineas and Ferb. And some of you out there, you're like, yeah, I know Phineas and Ferb. And the evil character is Dr. Doofenshmirtz. And for some reason, I loved that. So I named my classroom economy the Doofenshmirtz Teaching Incorporated. Again, bringing a sense of whimsy. Guess that wasn't important, but it's fun. So classrooms should be fun. So that's our company name. And I tell my students like the first or second day, hey, guess what? You all got a job. Congratulations. And they look at me like, what? I said, your job is to be a student. That is your first and primary job. And the way you do your job is you show up to work. That means you need to be here at school on time every day. And each day you show up here on time, you're going to get a ticket. That is your pay for that day. So every student gets a ticket. And they're like, wait, I'm getting paid. This is great. So there's some interest there. Now, later on, as you build your economy, you can have additional jobs that students can take on to make increased income. We'll talk about, okay, just paying them with no use for those tickets, that's meaningless, but we'll get there. But as far as the ticket economy, my go-to is your first and primary job is to be a student. What does it mean to be a student? It means to have yourself in class prepared each day. So you get a ticket, and we're off to the races.
All right. So in your class, everyone gets a ticket every day. What if they're late though? Do they still get a ticket?
That's totally a teacher call. I say no. Now, you're going to get a ticket every day, but you need to be on time for work. I tell them, like, my boss, my principal, he's going to get after me if I'm constantly showing up late. Now, I know it's not a perfect analogy because we can show up late sometimes and our pay isn't docked. Let's not get too lost in the weeds on that. And for the kids, so far, I have very little pushback. Although I will say they have brought up sick pay before or vacation pay when we go out because they're like, my parents have talked about this. Mr. Jones, do I get vacation pay? And so we have a conversation about that. Again, real world stuff. It's great.
This episode is brought to you in partnership with the Herzog Foundation. And I have to tell you, I just went to a Herzog event last week, and it was just amazing to see how much God is doing in education at large, but specifically at the Herzog Foundation. They are really pouring into particularly Christian schools in an incredible way. And if you're teaching at a Christian school, you should definitely be checking them out. In particular, take a look at their amazing lineup of free trainings. I mean, even lodging and meals are included for free. So you definitely don't want to miss that. Another resource that everyone can enjoy no matter where you teach is their Faith and Freedom 250 video series, which tells stories of faith, sacrifice, and courage from America's history. So please check out these and so many more resources at herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com. Now back to our conversation. Yeah, so that's exciting. So you couldn't, it's kind of up to you, your judgment call. You could have 2 tickets a day, and one's for being on time and one's for all kinds of stuff you can do. Okay, I love that though. Tickets for being there, being on time.
Yes.
So then you have students' jobs that are in addition to their core job. How does that work?
Okay, so I got to give kudos to a mentor of mine, Rick Morris, Southern California. He's the one who this is nothing of my own creation. I stole it from him. My gut tells me he stole it from someone else, and every teacher is going to steal from the other teacher and put their mark on it. So there we go. Rick Morris, thank you. Moving on. Jobs. He made a great point. He said, so many, I'm speaking from the elementary classroom, but I'm sure you middle and high school teachers, you could find ways to make this relevant in your classroom. Heck, money is becoming much more relevant to those middle and high schoolers. If you can find a way to capture their imagination, That's your art. That's your magic. So do it. But I'm speaking from the elementary world. He said in elementary classrooms, so often they have their wheel of jobs, and each week that wheel gets spun and a person gets a new job. And there is fun in that and there is goodness. But he said sometimes Calvin, I love to use Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin is being told this week, you are the door holder. And Calvin has no interest in being the door holder. And so he's resisting that. He didn't ask for that job. He didn't request it. And so for the next week, you're pulling teeth as you're like, but that's your responsibility. And there is something like, don't get me wrong, there is something to, we have to do things we don't want to. But when it comes to jobs, like I'm a teacher, not because someone out in the world said you have to be. I chose this and I'm going to put my heart into it. So I think there is something to having students have the opportunity to advocate for a job they would like. They're going to be more invested in it. They're going to be more interested in it. So that would be my first thing is maybe rethink the wheel. Maybe rethink how you distribute jobs. The second one that he brought up is I did not become a good teacher in 1 week. I'm still becoming a good teacher. I'm still trying to get better. A student isn't going to get good at their job in 1 week and then get a new job and then a new job. And so he said, give them time. Instead of 1 week every time, maybe have it for 2 months. And you'll be amazed. And I have seen this in action. After a few weeks of a student being the librarian in my classroom, they'll come to me and say, Mr. Jones, I'm the librarian, and I know you told me I have to do this, this, and this. But I was thinking about it, and wouldn't a librarian do this also? And so they are reflecting on their job. They are becoming better at their job because they had time to fall in love with it, to find new responsibilities. And so they share that with me. I'm like, that's fantastic. And that might lead to a raise in their pay because they've taken on more responsibility. Or maybe it's just kind of a one-time thing. Maybe I give them a bonus. Hey, I love the way you're thinking. Here's a 5-ticket bonus. Way to go. So I would rethink that approach. Linda, help me out. Have I answered your question? I'm sorry. I get excited about economy. So if I've left off a part, please ask.
Okay, so just to hear what you're saying, rather than just giving students jobs each week, whoever's up next, students are keeping a job longer. Do they apply for these jobs?
Okay, you got to be careful. You're going to have to reel me in. This economy, I could talk about for 2 hours. I could talk about it with excitement for 2 hours. You're asking me to go deeper. Yes. Okay. Here's my 10-second. In my classroom, we have job applications. We have a list of jobs that we let them know, hey, these are the next jobs we're hiring for. So we're looking for applications for those. Because in my classroom list of jobs, there are some that are going to make my life easier quicker. I want to hire those ones first. So yes, you apply for jobs. There's a list of available jobs. I let them know which jobs are being hired for next. We even do applications which lead to an interview because just turning an application, I may get 4. So we do interviews and then we announce who is hired for that position. Or sometimes a job may have 2 or 3 people who do that job. So I want to be careful and respectful of time. But yes, you better believe there's applications and interviews and it's a blast and the kids love it.
Yes. Okay. All right. Now I'm wanting us to go deeper into that. We can maybe do that separately, but
Okay.
we'll have to do that another time. But but for someone listening, so basically though, this could be as simple or complex as you want. The whole
Yes.
system could be very complex. And also though, I'm sure you didn't start with that on the first time like it develops over the years. You can get more to it. But to start off, you could simply just start it by having people write down which jobs do you want and picking from there. Like you could start very simple or as complex as you're excited to do.
Yes. And I'm a big fan of the KISS method. If you've ever heard that, keep it simple, stupid. That's kind of back to me is like, don't try and bite off more than I can chew. So start simple. I'm excited talking about this big thing that's developed over years. But for you, Linda, I think that's great. Hey guys, here's the job that we're going to be hiring for next. Let me know if you're interested. And then you as the teacher, you could say, based on what you've shown me for personal responsibility, for integrity, I'm going to whittle down. And I will say, I don't want this to turn into, I give jobs to the good kids. This needs to be a chance for students to learn responsibility, and you're not going to learn it without opportunities to build it. So within the total network of jobs that I have available, there are definitely jobs that I kind of earmark in my mind that Calvin, I'm going to use Calvin, my knucklehead. I love him. I need him to grow. I'm going to kind of target Calvin with these 2 or 3 jobs that I think he'll be successful with. Maybe the most intensive, most responsible jobs that require you to be able to jump from classroom learning to a quick side thing and then right back on task. Calvin, he's going to be lost. But this other job might be a great fit for him and get him starting to feel that. So 4 jobs. If you say, hey, we're hiring for X job, they all put their names in the hat. Don't rule Calvin out. Find the job that will help Calvin start to learn these responsibilities. And sometimes that means Calvin gets a job that another student actually might be more qualified for. This isn't free market. This is about teaching and helping students grow,
Yes.
and doing that with love and grace. And that means targeting those students who need these skills more. So keeping it simple, everyone put your name in the hat. You then, as the teacher, could choose from your discretion. You are the teacher. You have that. If you want to make it a little more fun and you feel comfortable with this, you could do a randomizer. You put all the names in a hat, you draw one out. That has a sense of fairness to it, that kids don't say that you're playing favorites. So do what works for you.
Yeah. All right, that's awesome. So students get these jobs however you decide to award them or randomize them, but there's different jobs. You can switch them according to your discretion, but not
Mm-hmm.
every week.
Yep.
Longer, think months, think quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm assuming students get paid, like you just think what makes sense for my economy. I'm going to give you this much a week or this much a
Mm.
month, or what do you do it
Yeah.
weekly in yours?
I do it weekly. What's nice is we already, by doing it weekly, there is a level of delayed gratification. I'm doing a job each day, but I'm not getting the remuneration. Ooh, fancy word this time of the morning. The pay for it right away. So that's good for students to learn. But they do need to see that physical, actual response within a kid-friendly time frame. So weekly works for me.
Yeah.
One of the jobs I have is basically a banker, so that I don't have to take care of handing out those tickets every day. I have my banker grab my ticket bucket, they distribute it, and every week they go through the payroll list and they give those students how much they get paid. I love that you brought up additional income, because that's what this is part of. Not every job pays the same. Jobs that are super popular and every kid wants to do, I don't need to pay much because they're so motivated to do it on their own. Pulling the lunch wagon. I swear, if you put a lunch bag in a wagon and you let someone pull it, they will pay me to get to do that. I don't do it. But I don't need to pay them much because they're clambering over each other to get there. But there's other jobs where maybe you have to stay in during recess to sharpen my pencils. You're giving up part of your recess time, and I want to show that I value that. You're going to get an increased pay comparatively. So the rigor of the job, the desire for the job, it's kind of that demand why now my brain's not working. Linda, help me out.
Supply and demand.
Thank you. Supply and demand. So you can bring those into the conversations about, well, why doesn't this job get paid as much? Y'all want it. I don't need to pay you very much. Now, again, you can also front load, like if you can find a way to make your job better and help our classroom more, there's opportunities for raises.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much content integration and real world experience being woven in here. I love it.
Can I share one real quick?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. So we do an auction because we haven't talked about what do we do with these tickets. Once a week, we do an auction. By the way, to get cheap auction stuff, raid garage sales during the summer. Talk to the people and say, like, hey, I'm a teacher. I'm just looking for some swag to have in my classroom. They will usually give you the pick of it for free or super cheap. And kids love it. So
That's a great idea.
weekly auction, it gives them something now to save up for. What was really cool is at the beginning of my year, we all start with a signing bonus. So they get a 10 ticket bonus the first week of school, just like real jobs, you get a bonus sometimes. And we do an auction. And you better believe that first week, all of the auction items go for 8 or 9 tickets because that's all there is. A month and a half in, stuff is starting to go for 30, 40 tickets. And I just had a student the other day say, wow, stuff costs so much more now than it used to. And I stopped the entire auction, the classroom. I said, have you guys ever had the news on? Your mom and dad are watching it and you heard the word inflation? And they're like, yeah. I said, let's talk about that. That's what's happening right here, right now. And we had a great kid-friendly, real-world conversation with 4th graders about why inflation was happening in our classroom. How cool is that? That wasn't part of my math or economics curriculum. That was the real world playing out.
Yeah, but they're going to remember that probably when they hear inflation the rest of their lives. They're going to think back and they're like, I know how that works. That's
Yes,
awesome.
yes. So
Okay.
fun.
So I have a couple questions. I want to hear about getting prizes. Is it all
Yes.
auction? Do you also have prize? I guess teachers could choose. They could do auction. They could do their prize table. And then with that, are there any other ways students earn tickets? Like, do you give tickets away as prizes or for motivation in other areas too?
Okay.
Do you? Obviously, teachers can do whatever they want.
Okay. My mind's flying. I probably won't remember all the pieces that I want to just throw out here. So come back on it. But
Okay.
let's start with, what do I spend my tickets on? Let's go there. Auction. That's a great one. And I usually limit it like 3 items a week. 3 items a week. I don't want to be too much. Now
Those are the big things.
it's also a great chance to train social emotional, because you better believe some of those kiddos, they had their eye on that prize item, and in their mind it was already theirs.
Mm.
And so front loading, like, hey, is this going to be a big deal or a little deal if I don't get what I want? And that's okay. And some of my fourth graders, you would think that you would think, but they're still in near tears at the beginning, because in their mind, it wasn't the classroom's up for grab. That was theirs. So, okay, auction. There's one. I also do a store day once a week. You could ask a volunteer to come and help and run it. You could run it yourself. And I try and keep it pretty simple. Level 1, 2, and 3 prizes. Level 1 prizes are bookmarks, single pencil, just really simple stickers. Again, fourth grade classroom. And those are 10 tickets a piece. So level 1, 10 tickets. Level 2, 20 tickets. Level 3, 30 tickets. Simple. And I have different sections of my room, different drawers that have these prizes labeled so that the kids know. You could have a volunteer come in and help run that. You can hire someone to be your store manager. Yep, got that going. So I don't have
Yep.
to run it anymore. One of my kids does. Oh, and when you have a job, you usually get an employee discount. Yep, my store manager, he gets 20% discount. Real world stuff. So you can do auction. You can buy stuff from the store. I am a nerd for board games, and I'm talking better than what we grew up with, Monopoly. Sorry if you love Monopoly and I just hurt your feelings. But I've collected lots of board games. And so kids not only can buy stuff that they keep forever, but they can also rent board games to take home, because I would love to get kids off of screens, involved with interactions with families. Board games are a great way to do that. So they can check out a board game for the week. It costs 5 tickets. So I want to keep those as cheap as possible, because I don't want them to not be able to afford it. My goal is to get that in the house, get families interacting with each other. So there's another purchase. Let's talk about the other side of what we spend tickets on. Now, this one might be actually, let's start with the less controversial one. You have your classroom supplies that you expect your students to keep track of, and they don't. And you're ripping your hair out. Like, I just gave you 5 pencils. How did you lose all of them in 6 seconds? Or where's your pink eraser? Or fill in the blank. In my class, we have a toolkit. That's a pencil pouch. And it's supposed to have specific things. Every once in a while, we'll do a toolkit audit where we pull it all out. We check and see what we have. And if you're missing items, you have to purchase replacements. There's some of your tickets. It's 2 tickets to buy a replacement. But it's a way to build that accountability. I love my dad to death. He's an amazing guy, but his garage is a black hole where his tools go to disappear. And rather than find the tool that he's already purchased, he has to buy it again the next time he needs that tool, and again and again. So I tell my students, you can save yourself so much money by being organized, by taking good care of your stuff. So that's another life lesson of, stuff isn't free. If I buy something from Home Depot, I lose it, I don't get to go back to them and say, hey, I bought this tool yesterday, but I lost it. I'm just going to grab another one real quick. No, the classroom, these supplies are real, and you don't just get to have an unlimited supply. So I think that's one great way to have not a what am I working for, but what am I trying to avoid?
Mm-hmm.
Another one for me, instructional time is pretty sacred. Like, I only have so many minutes in the classroom with you guys. Now, this is one where I want to be very careful, hear my heart. Bathroom. In our school day, we have about 6 times that I've counted up that students can go to the bathroom recess, lunch, during PE, they're allowed to, there's 6 different times spaced out throughout the day. So there's plenty of time for these little bodies to learn this. And I tell them, it's not that I'm trying to be mean. A 2-year-old goes to the bathroom in their diapers, and that's no problem for a 2-year-old. We expect that. That's fine. But a 4th grader should have more body control. Your body is ready for that. And so I'm pushing you towards that increased responsibility. And if you're going to be out of class during learning time, you need to pay for that. Now, I also tell them I never, ever, ever want an accident. So if there's an emergency, there's no question. They're going to get to use the restroom. I never want that. Or if there's a medical issue where their body has something more going on, totally get it. But I also try and frame it as, this is not punitive. This is, I want you to grow up in your maturity and responsibility. And students usually love that. They want to see themselves as more mature. Really, I can be responsible for my own body. And so if you need to use the restroom, sometimes it's just like, nope, not right now. It's not a good time. But sometimes I'll let them during class time, but they're going to have to pay for that. And again, it's that sense of, do I really have to? Or can I wait until the more appropriate time? So now we have, I guess we could say we have a fees bucket, and we also have a rewards bucket of how these tickets function in our classroom. And it also got more class time back for me. It got less disruption as far as, can I go to the bathroom? Can I go to the bathroom? So again, win, win, win. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot teachers can do with this, and once again, make it their own, right? So you're saying you can have fines or fees that you charge for certain behaviors or certain choices that students are making. And you can probably award bonuses, and it doesn't have to be just related to jobs too, right? It could be related to other things happening in the classroom.
Yes. Thank you. And this is so you remind me of 2 things. I told you I wasn't going to keep it all in my head. Classroom expectations as far as desk, neat and organized, orderly. Occasionally just go around when they're out of the room or whatever it is you're evaluating and like, you're doing a great job being organized. Here's a 4-ticket bonus. You're not giving them any heads up. This is just, you have set the expectation, and it's a quick check-in, and the kids come back in the room like, why are there 4 tickets at my desk? And some kids are saying, why aren't there 4 tickets at my desk? Hey guys, just want to let you know, I just did a quick check of these things, and I just want to say thank you for being on top of these items. Those who didn't get it, you know the expectation, so just make sure you're taking care of that all the time. So that's one. Going back to fees, you ever have that kid who comes in like, I lost my homework paper, Mr. Jones? Cool. You know it's going to cost. You're in 4th grade. You can be responsible. This goes back to the beginning. The world we live in today is pretty amazing, but I feel like it asks very little in terms of personal responsibility of our students. And I feel like that's a lack in our current system. And so how can we help raise them up in that? I go back to farmsteading of the West, and man, you better believe 9 and 10-year-olds, they were out there milking the cows, shoveling this. They were self-sufficient. Now our kids are like, I can't make my own lunch. You can slap peanut butter and jelly on a piece of bread. Come on, you can do it. And it's not that I say that a little tongue in cheek. I don't want to do this as you can. It's like, no, you can. You are capable of more than you realize. I know it. You don't know it yet, but I'm going to help you discover it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. I think sometimes it's hard to hold students accountable because we're like, what do we do when they don't? Or how do we? And this kind of system just creates that environment, that culture where it's so easy to have logical consequences, logical rewards that just make sense because you have the system to tie them into. That's great. Any final advice for someone that's either wanting to start an economy or kind of has one and looking to tweak it?
Simple to start. Don't try and bite off more than you can chew. It sounds like maybe we'll have some additional discussions, but any way that you can find to simplify taking it off of your shoulders, putting it onto students, or asking a volunteer to come in and help out if you're starting to kick this off. Talk to other teachers if there's someone who you've heard has an economy going. But yeah, I would heavily advise this beast, this monster can get big and it can get super helpful. But if you try and do it all at once, it will crush you. I don't want to deter you, but I don't want you to lose the joy and the power of it because you try and do too much at once. So start small, build from there. One of my my mantras is slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
My principal used to always say that.
Oh, yeah, I love it. So start slow, get it really smooth. Once it's smooth, then you can pick up your speed. In this, start small with something that's easy. You know, here's one of my favorite things. One of my first hires is my administrative assistant. Now, I actually started it as my secretary, and I hired a secretary, and that student came back. He's like, I was talking with my mom, and she told me that secretary isn't as popular of a word. Now we call them administrative assistants. Do you think we should retitle it? Like, dude, brilliant. Let's do it. So my administrative assistant. In my class, every student has a student number. It just helps me with organization, and they always put on their papers their classroom number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever their number is, in the top left. And I'll tell you why it's always, always, always the top left. Everyone turns in their math sheet. They've got their number in the top left. I take that stack, I hand it to my administrative assistant, and I give them some quick training on what an efficient way is to organize papers from 1 to 30 or however many students you have. And now all of a sudden, you don't have to wonder, did I get Joey's? What about Susie's? Do I have Kevin's? As you're trying to remember which pages you've seen. Now you're like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 6. Kevin, where's yours? Dude, turn in. So you just have those numbers in order. You didn't have to put them in order. You just gave that responsibility to a student. And this isn't a student that you're forcing. You didn't use the wheel. So it's not Calvin who's like, I don't want to put them in order. You gave it to Susie, who said, I love organizing stuff. So there's something right there. Administrative assistant, they will make your life so much easier.
I love that. That's fantastic. So start small, maybe start with the administrative assistant, basic ticket for everybody, build from there. And yeah, before you know it, can evolve into however you want. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing this. I'm looking forward. If you guys have questions, go ahead and leave them depending on where you're watching this on the comments, or you can go to teachfortheheart.com/365. That's where the post will be for this. You can ask comments down there, ask questions there. Maybe we can kind of come back and answer them in those places. So Jonathan, thank you so much. Those of you here, thank you so much for being with us as well. If you would like more help from Jonathan and our other mentors, consider joining us in Teach for the Heart Plus, where we have mentors answer questions on coaching calls, support inbox. We have all of our professional development courses in there. So you can find out more about that at teachfortheheart.com/plus. Use the code podcast for a discount. Great news, Jonathan and Becky have put together for you a list of their classroom jobs that they use in their classroom. So if you'd like to get that list, simply head to teachfortheheart.com/365 and you can request it right there. Hope that this is a huge help. Well, this episode is brought to you in partnership with the Herzog Foundation. All views and opinions are our own, don't necessarily reflect those of the Herzog Foundation. Well, thank you for being with us. We look forward to being with you again soon. In the meantime, teachers, remember, God is at work in us and through us, and He's using you to make a difference. Keep your eyes on Him and teach for the heart.